You're listening to the Agony Column News Report featuring interviews, phone interviews, reports from live book events and festivals, and conversations with readers. You can find additional news, interviews, book reviews, and more 5 days a week at the Agony Column website at trashotron.com/agony. Ladies and gentlemen, we're privileged to have with us this evening Tanya Lurhman. She's the author of Two Minds, an anthropologist looks at American psychiatry. Her new book is When God Talks Back, Understanding the American Evangelical Relationship with God. Thank you for joining us, Tanya.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Tanya, would you start with a reading from the book?
Sure. Is the mic positioned well? What I have to offer is an account of how you get from here to there, and I'm talking about belief and an experience of God. The tool of an anthropologist's trade is careful observation, participant observation, a kind of naturalist craft in which one watches what people do and listens to what they say and infers from how they come to see and know their world. I am, more precisely, a psychological anthropologist. I add to my toolkit the experimental method of the psychologist, which I use to explore the constraints on the way people make meaning. At one point, I ran a psychological experiment to test whether my hunch that spiritual practice had an impact on the mind's process was true, and it was. But mostly I watched and listened, and I tried to understand as an outsider how an insider to this evangelical world was able to experience God as real. It didn't have much to do with belief per se. Skeptics sometimes imagine that becoming a religious believer means acquiring a belief the way you acquire a new piece of furniture. You decide you need a table for the living room, so you purchase it and get it delivered, and then you have to rearrange everything, but once it's done, it's done. I didn't find that being or becoming a Christian was very much like that. The propositional commitment that there is a God, the belief itself, is of course important. In some ways it changes everything, and the furniture of the mind is indeed distinctively rearranged. But for the people I spent time with, learning to know God as real was a slow process, stumbling and gradual, like learning to speak a foreign language in an unfamiliar country with new and different social cues. In fact, what I saw was that coming to a committed belief in God was more like learning to do something than to think something. I would describe what I saw as a theory of attentional learning, that the way you learn to...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?